Hey, Bill Soriano here from Pittsburgh, about 7:48 p.m. Eastern time here Wednesday night. And I've been showing you some different opportunities that you could have taken from some 4-hour supply and demand zones, right? And so if you're watching the videos on the page here, you're kind of seeing that's what we're doing. We have our alerts set at some 4-hour supply and demand zones. So let's just see. I know one alert went off in USDJPY today. So again, we're on the 4-hour time frame here. And what we see here is we see these two supply zones right here. Okay. So this is the first one, the supply zones where you have a consolidation followed by a large momentum move, right? An impulsive move to the downside here that leaves all this in balance, right? From this wick here to this wick here. Leaves a lot of imbalance in the market, right? And so this is one 4-hour area to trade from, but then you have some more imbalance right above it, and you have another 4-hour area right above it here. So this is why we can't just set sell limits here at the beginning of these 4-hour zones because they won't always work out for you. Matter of fact, I mean, trades won't always work out for you anyway, but if you wait for a confirmation, then you can get it to a point where you're winning 45 to 50% of your trades. And the ones that you win, you're making a lot more money than the 1% you lose on those few that you do lose, or those, a little bit more than half, I should say, that you do lose. So here, price moves into our 4-hour supply zone. If we drop down to the 15-minute chart, what we're looking for is we're looking for a structure break to the downside, right? Right now on the 15-minute, price is bullish, comes up into our zone. And by the way, price does invalidate the zone here, but you see on the 4-hour chart that you have a large wick, so you have a big rejection off of this area here. So that's kind of a good sign, because if this would have just kind of closed here at the top of the wick here, then that would tell you you're probably not going to have an opportunity until it moves into the next area here, right? So it comes in, and actually, if you look, it fills that imbalance almost to the pip. I mean, you could see the imbalance, from that wick. Well, if you look from this wick here, it doesn't fill all the imbalance. But if you go a couple candles back, you can see that it does slightly there. Now, when you drop down to the 15-minute, we see that, price structure is bullish here. We have this low here, high, low, high, low, high. Okay. So unless we make a new high, our last swing low is right here, and that's where we set our alert for that change of character shift, right? And you can see that that comes about right here on this candle here. And then after that, now we're looking for a valid supply zone here, a refined supply zone on the 15-minute time frame that we can trade from. Okay, and you could see here that right here, let me just move this around here. We get this impulsive move down. It leaves imbalance here, right? So that's the area that we're going to map out here. Okay, and if you see here on our demo trading account here for USDJPY, we do have an order in place right here, right at the beginning of that 15-minute refined zone. Stop loss goes right above the high, and then we're going to target this low down here for probably about a 1 to, see what this is. It's about a 1 to 4.68 risk to reward ratio trade. So that's what we're looking for here. That's what we're waiting for in USDJPY, right? Price hit our 4-hour supply zone. It rejected off of it. So telling us that it's probably not going to move into the next zone just yet. And we could probably catch a good trade here on this. So we're going to wait for this to fill. And we have the buy limit right in there, right? Okay, so some other pairs. Let's see here. CAD, JPY, GBP, most of the yen pairs here we're going off here. Let's look here on 4 hour time frame. Again, price moved through this area here. We had this marked as an inducement area, kind of just like the same way USDJPY is, but the difference here is like we were showing this. Let me just get rid of this here. This wick here rejects, this candle rejects after trying to break through the zone, it gets rejected and closes back down inside the zone. Okay. But you could see here on GBP JPY, it doesn't do that. It goes right through the inducement zone here and right into the next 4 hour supply zone right here. So you could see the consolidation, this little candle here, but we took this whole area here. And you can see we have our, actually this should have been shortened up to about there. We're going to take that, the top of the wick there, because that's where our stop loss would go anyway, right? And then, of course, we do have this area up here, but as you can see, there's just no imbalance left. There's no imbalance left in these areas here. So we don't expect price to go into these areas. And if it does, then we expect it to just keep going, right? So if we drop down the 15-minute time frame and look for that break of structure, you could see here the market structure here being bullish, right? Comes up to that high, down to the low, and then up to that high. So this is where our change of character would take place, right at that wick on that candle there, right? That swing low is where our change of character would take place. And then, so we have an alert set there. Once that alert would get hit, then we can come in here and we can find a good area to trade from. And if we can't find any imbalance on the 15-minute time frame, then we'd have to drop down to the 5-minute, right? And you could see here, right here on the 5-minute, we do see this impulsive candle here that leaves some imbalance right here. We see this consolidation, impulse down, leaves some imbalance. So we can find imbalance on the 5-minute if we don't find a zone, a clear zone to trade from on the 15-minute. Okay. However, on the 15-minute, you could see right here that this would be a good supply zone right here. But again, and price is kind of working its way back up there right now, but we haven't had that break of structure. So without that break of structure, we have no reason to believe that this will continue coming down. It can just continue going up, right? So that's why we need that break of structure to the downside. And then we could potentially take a trade from this area right here. This candle right here would be where we look to take a trade from. But first, we need the break of structure here. Let's look at a couple more because most of these EUR JPY pairs have done the same thing. Now you see here, price goes right through our supply zone, closes above it, but then the very next candle comes right back down in. Okay, so sometimes you have some imbalance up in here that needs to be filled. In this case, you don't really have that. The imbalance here is a little bit further up. There's a little bit of imbalance here, not much there, and nothing there, and there's no imbalance here. So this area here looks kind of good to trade from, as long as we don't get another close outside of this supply zone here. This should be a good area to trade from. So if we drop down to the 15-minute chart, and again, if we read that market structure, you can see here that price kind of comes down to this point here, then goes kind of straight up, really. And so this area right here is where we need price to come through. We need that break of structure, giving us that change of character here. We need that 15-minute candle to close below here, and then we'll be able to identify a supply zone up above here. I don't know if AJ also gave us anything here. Again, a big move up through this zone here. So the yen's been really weak today against all pairs, as you could see here. And so because this is closed so far up here now, we kind of, and then the next candle, even though it closes down, you see how it doesn't get back into the zone like the other ones did, right? This was EURJPY. EURJPY closed outside the zone, but then the next candle closed inside, right? So this one, AJ would have to look. We're going to wait for price to move into this area up here. So we have some imbalance up here that hasn't been filled yet in this area here. And then we look for price to move into this 4-hour supply zone before we would start to look for a trade. CADJPY is another one here. This one we already had a trade take off on here. This one price had already moved up into our zone here. That was back on Tuesday at 5 a.m. Right? So that one we already had a trade off of. This is Chef JPY here, the Swiss yen, and this has not yet worked its way up into that 4-hour zone. So we have, like I showed you, we have this order right here. Looks like I never placed the order. There we go. So we have that order right there, and you can see the price is really close to getting filled here. Sometimes when it gets this close and I'm kind of watching it, let's see what we have here on 15. So you see here on the 15-minute, the price got really, really close to executing. Really close to executing. So sometimes in situations like this, we may just want to exit out of there, and we may just want to take this trade down from here. Right, so we'd be risking that 1%. Our stop loss would go right there. And again, we're going to target this low down here. And we're probably just going to take this trade right here. Okay, so we did execute that trade. We do have a position right now in USDJPY. Again, this is just a demo account, guys. So, you want to test this out on demo first. You don't want to trade this on your live account. I'm not here trying to give you signals or anything like that. I'm just trying to show you where you have the opportunity in the market here. It looks like that probably would have, like I said, it's close. The pending order is pretty close, but I just decided to go ahead and get in at 154,519. 54519. And you could see the price is now coming up, and it would have executed anyway had I not got in. So we'll have to just see what happens with this here. Hopefully this, pushes down here to get us a quick 1 to 3.55 risk to reward ratio trade. However, it could just keep going here and move up into this next zone here. But the reason why we were confident that it shouldn't do that is because of this wick rejection here on the 4-hour chart, right, that we had. Okay, guys, Bill Soriano from Pittsburgh, and this is just what USDJPY and what a lot of the yen pairs look like tonight. Have a great night. Hey guys, Bill Soriano here from Pittsburgh. It's Thursday, about 4:34 p.m. here Eastern time. I just got home. from the restaurant to see the trade that I showed you guys last night in USDJPY, right? So if you remember here on the 4-hour time frame, we had price go through our 4-hour supply zone right here, and we had another supply zone marked up here. But because this candle here on the 4-hour time frame rejected heavily off of there, it moved up, but then rejected and closed back down inside the supply zone. That made the supply zone still valid, a valid area to trade from if we could get a confirmation. So dropping down to the 15-minute chart, we were looking at the break of structure right here as price moved up into the zone here. And then we got that break of structure. And then I think what I was showing you on the video that's just a few minutes ago, price moved back into our area right here and our order executed. I think I actually took this order. I actually did a market execution when price was close to my sell limit, as you've seen, but price also did move back into the zone quite nicely. And you got that rejection right there, that wick rejection. And then price moved right down and gave us a quick 1 to 3.5 risk to reward ratio trade. We were just targeting these lows right here. Now, again, that could be like your first target, and then maybe you sell half your position and then let the other half run to your second target, which would be these lows down here, which it hasn't quite made it to yet. Or if you just put this in as a 1 to 5 risk to reward ratio trade, making $5 for every dollar you bet, you would have got to that point very easily here, as you can see. So this was a very good trade. I showed you the setup last night. I showed you me taking the trade. If we look at my demo account here, again, this is on demo, right, which I told you. You look at the demo account here, you could see that trade right here, USDJPY 213 last night. And the net profit on that trade would be $3,507. Again, this is on a demo account. So full disclosure here, guys. You always want to trade this strategy I'm teaching you on a demo account first. You do not risk any real money. And again, I'm showing you how to do the strategy. I'm not giving you signals. I just want to make that clear. I'm not qualified to give any investment advice at all. I'm just showing you a strategy that is taught, and the company that we're with teaches this strategy. Our community used to teach this strategy as well, but now they just focus on the impulse scanner and more of a scalping strategy because it's easier for people to learn. People don't want to watch hours of videos. They want everything fast nowadays. So that's why our community focuses on the impulse scanner and the scalping strategy that we teach. And it works well for people. Me, I like smart money. I like buying from 4-hour supply and demand zones, which are just order blocks. And that's what we used to teach years ago. So anyway, this was the USDJPY trade. Now, most of these yen pairs, like I was showing you last night, were giving good signals here. Okay, this is GBP/JPY. So last night we had this up. We seen that price moved right through this inducement zone here. So this was a supply zone right here, but I already had it marked as inducement because we had all this imbalance right above it, and then there's another supply zone. Okay, so we knew the price is more than likely just going to blow through that first one, and you could see that it did. That 4-hour candle closes way up, right, at the top of the range, and it actually closes inside of the next supply zone. Then look at the wick rejections you get there, right? So when you drop down to the 15-minute chart, we had this area right here marked for our break of structure, okay? But what happens here is price goes higher. Right here, it makes a new high, pulls back, makes another new high. That makes our zone now right there. So right here, we get this break of structure to the downside. And then we have on the 15-minute, we have a refined demand zone right there. Okay. Now price doesn't come back and hit that, okay, as you could see. But what it does is here, price breaks structure again to the downside. And when it does that, it leaves this demand zone kind of right here. There's a little bit of imbalance there. So it leaves you this demand zone right here. And you could see that price, you would you could see the price just touches that to the pip right there. And so you could have gotten in that trade from this demand zone right here, or you could still have your order in up here and wait for price to come up here. Because why? Because we have this imbalance, right? You could see this imbalance right in here if you turn the detector on. We have imbalance up in here right before this extreme supply zone. And so, if you get in down here, then you have a lower risk to reward ratio trade because you have to put your stop loss all the way up here. Whereas if we wait, which is what I'm going to do today here, if we wait for price to move up here, right, and we get in this area right here, we're using this red candle right here, right? That is the indecision candle prior to the impulsive move, and that leaves imbalance. Now, we do have to use this higher wick on the candle before that for our stop loss. So what we would look to do later on here is after 6 p.m., after 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, because we wouldn't want to take any trades from now until then, right? Of course, at the beginning of the day, around 5 p.m. to 6, the spreads go haywire, so you definitely don't want to take any trades there. And so this is where we would look for price to come back to, right before possibly taking off to the downside. Okay. Now, of course, price could just do that from here if it wants to. And if you took this trade here, you'd already be in the trade. But again, your risk to reward is much higher here. You could see if we're targeting this low right here, if we use this refined zone right here, right, where we have the imbalance, if we get in here, we put our stop loss right above that high, and then we target this low down here, we have a 1 to 5.29 risk to reward ratio trade. Okay. If we got in here instead, let me show you this. If we got in off of this supply zone here, which is probably just inducement right here, now we have to put our stop loss all the way up here, right? Same place. Now with our take profit down here, we don't even have a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio trade. So remember, I can't even take a trade. My trading plan will not even allow me to take a trade unless I have a minimum of a 1 to 2.5 risk to reward. So a minimum of $2.50 back for every dollar I risk. Okay. So this is why you wouldn't want to take this trade from this zone anyway. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Tonight in GBP/JPY, I'll be waiting for price to move back into this area here. And if it does after 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, if it does that, then there's an opportunity to get in a trade there. And again, if we look on the 4-hour time frame, this is the supply zone that we're in. So if we look a little bit higher up here, there's really no imbalance on this supply zone. And then we have this big momentum candle right here, this big impulse candle here. But that imbalance has all been filled. So really, this is the best area right now. This is the best supply zone for us to trade from unless we go all the way up here. Okay. So again, guys, we got that trade in USDJPY. Worked out great for us here. I showed you that on the video here. I got in this trade last night. I'm just patching these two videos together. Half of the video was made last night. Now I'm making this video here showing you, what happened here. Again, it was USDJPY. So that's right here. So that trade worked out great. Okay, guys, any questions? Let me know. Bill Soriano from Pittsburgh, and have a great day.